We're delighted to have members of the Lithuanian Parliament here in Taiwan. Lithuania has been standing up for Taiwan, and they recently welcomed a Taiwanese representative office to their capital. Now, I'm delighted to be able to speak with member of Lithuanian Parliament, Dovilė Šakalienė.
Thank you, Natalie. Actually, I'm really happy to be here because from the moment that we stepped our foot on the soil of Taiwan, we have seen nothing but warm welcome, friendly and very positive attitude, and also really interesting conversations. So we are very happy to be here. And I want to note that we are taking the strictest precautions so that in the times of pandemic, we are not a danger to you, but just guests. So we are not stepping outside of this hotel, not even stepping outside of the floor that we are living on, so that we don't have any unnecessary contact and we don't want to get anyone sick. But nobody of us is sick. We had 2 PCR tests and I have 3 vaccines. This is important.
I'm sure you are very healthy. And it's so good to be able to speak with you. I remember last time I spoke with you, you said to Taiwan you have friends and allies and you are with us with all your heart. So here you are with us, truly.
So my heart is with Taiwan, first of all, because we share the same history and the same dangers right now. Lithuania was occupied for half a century by communist regime, bloody communist regime. You are now facing the danger of a communist regime just right next to you, and it's also as bloody and as authoritarian. So my heart goes to you because me, my family and my country has suffered from communists such a long time. So we really wish for you not to suffer like we did.
Well, we really appreciate it. I know that Lithuania, because you welcomed a Taiwanese representative office just a couple weeks ago to your capital. Beijing has had a major backlash. They, downgraded their office in your capital. They have some diplomatic and economic sanctions. So why did Lithuania decide to let Taiwan open this office with the word Taiwanese in it? Because usually, most of our offices have the word Taipei because countries are afraid of upsetting China. Why was Lithuania willing to let Taiwan open this office?
Our foreign policy is not aimed at creating conflicts or backlashes. We are just consistently and calmly going always the same direction. That is, supporting democracies and withstanding authoritarian regimes, withstanding pressure of repressions. We believe in right of people's self-determination. So, of course, when we felt that relationship with Taiwan is becoming closer and closer, and in the beginning of the pandemic, when it was really a huge stress for us, when our doctors even did not have enough medical masks, and Taiwan helped us, sending dozens of thousands of medical masks, that was, really important to us. And then when we could at least partially repay the favor by sending you 2 batches of vaccines, well, I feel that we are becoming friends. Now, Taipei is your capital, but the representative office does not represent only your capital, it represents Taiwan. And yes, legally, we are binded by the agreement that we have signed just as we regained our independence, and it includes the mention of One China policy. So we believe that you are the ones to make your decisions regarding your relations with China. However, there is an embassy of People's Republic of China in Lithuania, and here is representative office of Taiwanese people. So why call it in the name of the capital? Why not call it of the Taiwanese people? It does not violate any legal agreements. So I think that's pretty simple.
Were you surprised by the reaction that Beijing had?
Well, since I have been blacklisted by People's Republic of China for initiating resolution on acknowledging Uyghur genocide and requesting international legal independent investigation, which is, in my opinion and opinion of all democratic countries, a request that is based on common sense. I mean, all the research shows that massive industrial scale human rights violations are going on in Xinjiang province. So that means we have to react. After that, you learn. The first lesson is that if somebody acts with you in an unjustified way, then you can expect more unjustified actions. So of course, we understand that probably People's Republic of China still believes that threats and intimidation is the way to go forward.
Your foreign minister recently said that Lithuania can show the world how to resist China. And I mean, for a small country of 3 million, that's really admirable and courageous. Can you tell me about the Lithuanian people? What is it about you that gives you this kind of courage and conviction to stand up to authoritarian regimes?
Well, we are really stubborn people, I can tell you that. My family says that I really am a copy of my grandfather. He suffered from Soviet regime. He was put to prison, then he was deported with his family to Siberia. My mother was born in Siberia, and she was not allowed to leave Soviet Union, not even to go to Poland, which was, Poland, Romania, some other countries in Europe were this kind of close Soviet bloc. Not even there, because she was daughter of the state of the enemy. Because my grandma was also convicted and deported to Siberia because her brother and her sister participated in resistance they were not shooting at anyone. They were not like military resistance, just people who did not agree with occupation of their country. They actually endured torture, which had consequences for the rest of their life. So you understand my position towards communism. And having in mind that at least every 5th family in Lithuania suffers something like that, then yes, of course, we don't like communists. We know that it's like plague, that repressions of communists are always everywhere the same. So that's one explanation why Lithuanians feel you, and that's why we really understand what is happening with Taiwan, with the threat of the mainland China, People's Republic of China, trying to oppress, the same ideology of communism, and what is happening in Xinjiang, what we did in Hong Kong, when they violated the international treaties and when they showed that rule of law doesn't matter to them, because one country, two systems principle was just broken down. So that also gives us reason, to be wary of what they are doing. But another moment, I didn't hear these words that you mentioned that our minister said, but in my opinion, Lithuania may be one of your friends that is helping to build a bigger coalition. We are not naive. We understand we are a very small country, but today, delegation of 3 Baltic countries together is visiting Taiwan, and as well, your minister has visited Czech Republic and other European countries, and also IPAC. I am a chair of IPAC, Interparliamentary Alliance on China, and we unite over 24 democratic countries all over the world, from Canada to United States to United Kingdom to Australia and to smaller European countries. And yes, we know we're small, but also European Union is, our family that also protects us. And European Parliament passed resolution also saying very clearly that they support what Lithuania is doing regarding Taiwan. So I feel that, it's broader and broader consensus. It's not like we are, this really small bird which is jumping in front of a cat and frustrating the cat. No, we are just saying there are certain red lines in democracy too, which should not be overstepped. And we're just trying to keep the global security and the calm of international standards, the level of international standards, stable. Sorry, I'm not a native speaker.
Oh, your English is beautiful. Well, it's been obvious that the EU, even the US, are standing with you as you stand with Taiwan, and that you are having an impact. At least we feel that the EU has been engaging Taiwan more with the recent reports that you mentioned. We had a visit from members of European Parliament recently. How do you think your proactive engagement with Taiwan will affect other European countries and their relationship with Taiwan?
So I think it would be a twofold effect. One important aspect is that if we become a success story, so that our relationship with Taiwan develops successfully in all dimensions, like a multidimensional success, meaning economic relations, and also sharing some issues regarding security, for example, cybersecurity, because Lithuania and Taiwan both suffer from a really increasing number of these organized attacks, and we could share practices. And you have wonderful technological decisions that we are very eager also to learn and to use. So that would be a kind of an instigation, a motivation for other countries that Taiwan has so much to give and that we could exchange. Oh, and for that I might add, pandemic really has had an impact globally also on supply chains, on some geopolitical shifts. And when we see, that a short-term gain from autocratic regimes is not worth it, because when they change their legal regulation, for example, like PRC changed their national security law, and then they can seize the assets of foreign companies, we can freeze their assets, we can deport employees, and etc. That means that for businesses it's not secure. So it's better to build the ring of democratic countries, because these relations are more sustainable as we are more stable, predictable, and based on rule of law. So that's one aspect. But another aspect, will we be able to stand united in the face of threats? You saw what PRC has done to Australia and to Lithuania, and still continues to do that. So will the democratic world stand together to protect their family members? And that will answer the question, is the democratic world able to withstand People's Republic of China and to avoid conflict and to agree that we all have our right to make our decisions without hurting anyone? I think that's the most important. Nobody wants war, but for holding the peace, we have to agree that international standards must hold.
Well, I'm sure that democracies are waking up to the coercive efforts of China, right? In many ways, I've talked to many European parliamentarians, and they say that Europe is gradually waking up to that. Do you think that there will be more countries willing to put Taiwan in the representative office name as a way to show that they don't need to care about China?
My heart tells me yes, but as a politician I must answer that we'll have to see. Every democratic country makes their own decisions by themselves. I just can wish and hope for this.
You also mentioned that you want the alliance of democracies to be stronger than, let's say, communism. And do you feel that it is stronger than the communist alliance?
Well, that's the problem. That probably for many years the world has been too much market-oriented. Well, I understand that market economy is the basis, of the world moving. The money, the goods, etc., etc. But then what happens is that sometimes we forget that a certain money is bloody money and it's not sustainable, and then it damages us a lot in long term. So in that sense, I believe that China's big economic power, them being the second and having such large population, and of course very active, very proactive public relations and advertisement of its power and influence and etc., made some countries believe that it's kind of immovable object, that there's nothing to be done about that. But in that sense, what is important to understand, as I said, nobody wants war, nobody wants to move them. We just want to retain our space, our freedom to make our decisions. And in that sense, what is happening with Australia, with Lithuania, what happened with Czech Republic earlier, when we suffered some basically repressive actions by People's Republic of China, and other countries stepped in to help, and now certain things are changing, new market possibilities are opening, supply chains are being reformed. That probably is also giving a new perspective to the whole world, that there is no economy without security issues. Decoupling from China is not only not dangerous, but healthy. It's like, when you drop smoking, you feel like, oh, I cannot do this, it will be so difficult, I won't survive. When you actually do this, you understand that you feel much healthier, and it was for the better.
I'm curious about the people in your country. Do they all feel the same way about, as your leaders do, about Taiwan and China? Or has there been some pushback from the business community who stand to lose some Chinese business?
Well, I will tell you openly that Lithuanian society needs to learn more about Taiwan. Actually, one of the ways to enhance our cooperation and ensure global stability and security is also to get to know each other more. People-centered approach is very important. When the walls are opened, and I hope this pandemic really comes to an end, or at least it gets better, people of Lithuania, start traveling more to Taiwan and etc. We will really know more, and I'm hoping that Lithuania might become to Taiwan what Iceland was to Lithuania once. That's so important for us. Support, understanding, and true friendship from the heart. So for that, we need to communicate more to each other. Talking about business, actions by People's Republic of China really influenced certain businesses to be in the beginning very stressed about certain losses. And yes, we did suffer certain losses, starting from transit and ending with certain supply chains that are actually damaging us. But then we have more opportunities. Wherever there is a door closed, the window is being opened. So I believe that going in the Indo-Pacific ring, not only Taiwan, but also including Japan and Australia and India and other countries, and with US market, we have some also new agreements and etc. I mean, we will go through it. We are able to go through this process without losing our values, I think.
Well, I think it's wonderful what your country is doing for Taiwan, for the world, what you're doing personally as well. I know you stand up for the people who need people to stand up for them, right? You call out the abuses of China, and now you're sanctioned by them. How do you feel about being sanctioned by China?
Yesterday, with your Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Wu, we had a really wonderful chat. He was really happy to see me, and he wanted for us to have a selfie, and he tweeted the selfie tagging me, and he said, so it's like a coalition of sanctionees. We should, expand this coalition. He has a great sense of humor. But openly, of course, it's unfair. I mean, being sanctioned for loving freedom, being sanctioned for standing up for tortured or murdered people is abnormality. It's absurd. Another moment is that PRC sanctions and punishes families of people that we don't like. This is so undemocratic. In democracy, even if a person commits a crime, only this person is punished. Nobody touches the families, because it's unfair, unjustified. It's against the rule of law, against fundamental rights. So PRC once again proves that we don't understand democracy, that we don't want democracy, and that they are basically a threat to the global security. So I'm working the second term in National Security and Defense Committee. But for many years, almost 2 decades, I'm also in fundamental rights. I'm an expert of fundamental rights. And this is where these two meet, because you cannot protect fundamental rights if you are not secure, if you are threatened by authoritarian regimes. At the same time, you have to also respect fundamental rights and cherish your democracy if you don't want to become authoritarian regime. It's quite a difficult time that we are living in, and I hope we will be able to survive without losing our essence, who we are.
Well, you're doing a great job showing the world the how to fight for freedom, basically, right?
And freedom.
Protect freedom.
Hopefully we don't need to fight, just protect, just defend it. We're not on the aggressive, we are not on the offensive, we are just protecting.
Is there anything you would like to say to the people of Taiwan? You're here now, and before we end the interview?
First of all, thank you. It's also a pleasure and an honor for me to be here, and thank you for all the hospitality, for the warm welcome, also for wonderful, interesting conversations, for exchanging experience and the plans that we are making to learn from each other, to give to each other, and hopefully, as I saw on a coffee cup yesterday in one of your institutions, and it said that the most enduring love is love between friends.
Oh.
So that's what I'm hoping for. Let's stay friends forever.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Dovilė. It's been a privilege speaking with you. And I've been speaking with member of Lithuanian Parliament, Dovilė Šakalienė, who is here with a delegation of Baltic members of Parliament visiting Taiwan.